Iraqi officials claim Ukrainian operatives carried out covert missions inside Iraq, opening a new diplomatic row. Baghdad has accused Ukrainian intelligence of secretly operating on Iraqi soil, according to official statements. Iraqi authorities say several suspects confessed to working with Ukrainian intelligence during covert operations. The allegations come as Ukraine remains locked in its war with Russia, adding a new international dimension to the conflict. The claims have intensified tensions as Baghdad warns against foreign intelligence operations inside Iraq. Iraq has accused Ukraine of conducting covert intelligence operations inside the country. Iraq's National Security Advisor Caspian Al-Aboudi said several detained suspects confessed to working on behalf of Ukrainian intelligence services. Al-Aboudi said Iraqi security forces had arrested multiple groups allegedly linked to attacks on facilities across the country. Speaking to Digital TV, Al-Aboudi said Iraqi intelligence agencies had concluded there was Ukrainian interference in Iraq. He claimed the suspects had been assigned to carry out attacks on behalf of Ukrainian intelligence operatives. Al-Aboudi also alleged the operations were intended to blame the attacks on Iran-backed Iraqi armed groups. However, Iraqi authorities did not identify the facilities allegedly targeted or release evidence supporting the accusations. The allegations came shortly after Ukraine's reported strike on an Iranian commercial vessel in the Caspian Sea. Several West African countries have also previously accused Ukraine of supporting insurgent groups through drone warfare, allegations that Kiev has denied. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha held what he described as a frank phone conversation with his Iranian counterpart on July 28. The call followed Iran's accusations that Ukraine attacked an Iranian commercial vessel in the Caspian Sea. Kiev maintains that its July 25 drone operation targeted Russian vessels allegedly transporting military cargo. Ukraine insists all of its military actions are focused solely on defending itself against Russian aggression. Sybiha stressed that Ukraine never intended to target civilian ships or innocent civilians. Andriy Sybiha said, and I quote, "I called Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi for a frank conversation. Diplomacy is about direct conversation, even when it's difficult. I stressed that our goal is to avoid unnecessary escalation. I reiterated that all of Ukraine's actions are aimed solely at defending our country from Russian aggression and never intended to target civilian vessels or people. This is also true with regard to Iran's statements about their national who died and a civilian vessel that was targeted in a recent incident. Our goal is to counter Russian aggression, which is the root cause of all incidents, and it is Russia who bears full responsibility for all provocations and casualties. I emphasized the necessity to refrain from any escalatory steps, as well as to end any support for Russia's war against Ukraine. This war is illegal and it must end. Our position remains unchanged. Europe and the Middle East deserve stability, security, and peace." Unquote. Iran says one of its commercial vessels was struck, leaving one seafarer dead and 3 others injured. According to Abbas Araghchi, Ukraine assured Tehran that the attack on the Iranian vessel was unintentional. Iran's foreign minister said Tehran also seeks to avoid escalation despite the latest incident. Abbas Araghchi said, and I quote, "Was assured by Ukrainian FM Andriy Sybiha that the attack on an Iranian ship was unintentional and Ukraine seeks no escalation. Iran does not seek escalation either, but made clear any attack on our citizens or interests is unacceptable. There must be restitution for losses." Unquote. Araghchi reiterated that attacks on Iranian citizens or national interests will not be tolerated. The diplomatic exchange comes amid growing tensions over allegations that Iran has supported Russia's war effort. The phone call marks one of the rare direct diplomatic contacts between Kiev and Tehran in recent years. The conversation took place while President Zelensky was meeting US President Donald Trump in Washington. It also followed remarks by Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Barkai condemning what he called the Trump-Bibi-Zelensky triangle of evil.
We currently have no negotiations with the United States. The negotiations we are having, which may sometimes be interpreted differently, are the negotiations we have with Oman, focused on creating the necessary arrangements regarding the Strait of Hormuz. What currently exists cannot be called a ceasefire. The fact that the atmosphere has been calmer over the past few days is a result of the prudence of the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, who are always vigilant. Certainly, Any action taken through the United States will definitely be met with our reciprocal and decisive response, as you have witnessed over the past 2-3 weeks. While the opposing party is engaged in harmful actions and aggression against Iran, our focus is on defense. Regarding the points mentioned, yes, mediators may convey messages from the American side to us concerning current developments in the region, but at present, we have no negotiations with the American side. By this action, they attempted to put on a show for those they consider their true masters. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, you can simply say that this gathering, the meeting of Zelensky, Netanyahu, and Trump, essentially constitutes the formation of a triangle of evil. Such triangles have decidedly never served international peace and security. On the contrary, they have always been destructive and destabilizing. Certainly, all parties who consider themselves in some way supporters and backers of the Ukrainian regime must be held accountable in this regard. Essentially, the behavior of the president of Ukraine is reminiscent of the behavior of the anarchists on the eve of World War I, who carried out theatrical and very dangerous actions whose consequences engulfed all of Europe. We stated from the beginning that we have no interference in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. This action by Ukraine was both an absolutely illegal and unjustified act contrary to the UN Charter, and a dangerous adventure that will certainly not go unanswered by us. Zelensky's superiors must certainly both control him in this regard and be careful, as the actions of the Ukrainian regime can have repercussions that affect various parts of the world. Bulgaria's decision-makers must be held accountable for this unjustified and dangerous decision, which could practically reduce their country to the level of an accomplice and collaborator of the United States and the Zionist regime in a military aggression against Iran. I believe that the party who should apologize to Iran is the French side, because under diplomatic and embassy cover, they undertook actions that were in no way justified according to the 1961 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Under the pretext of communicating with civil society, they intervened in Iran's internal affairs and assigned themselves missions that, according to all authoritative interpretations of the Convention on Diplomatic Relations, are considered interference in the internal affairs of a country. We did not expect the new British government to act more rationally than the previous one. Unfortunately, we saw that it practically followed the same path, perhaps even worse. We were informed and are aware that during the military aggression of the United States and the Zionist regime against Iran over a period of 40 days, the United States used British military bases to support its aggressive operations against Iran. This action, by any standard we consider, standards that Britain and other European countries actually claim to uphold, is contrary to the principles of international law, violates Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the Charter, and is in no way acceptable.